Shy intern used sign language for a deaf visitor. She had no idea. The CEO was watching. The first week of her internship had been nothing short of nerve-wracking for Alia. She was 21, fresh out of university, and working at Horizon Enterprises, one of the city's most prestigious multinational corporations. Her professors had warned her that internships here weren't for the faint of heart. Every intern was expected to hustle, adapt quickly, and make an impression, or risk fading into obscurity. But Alia had never been the kind to stand out. She was shy, soft-spoken, and often felt invisible in a crowd. Still, she had a secret strength. She had grown up with a younger brother who was born deaf, which meant she was fluent in Pakistani Sign Language. Few people knew this about her. It was just part of her world, something she never thought would matter in a high-rise corporate office. That Tuesday morning, the office was buzzing with tension. The CEO, Mr. Zayan Rahim, had returned from an overseas trip. People whispered about him in awe. He was young for a CEO, only in his mid-30s, but known for being brilliant, demanding, and intimidating. Rumor had it that he could fire someone on the spot if they wasted his time. Alia prayed she wouldn't even cross his path. She had just finished printing reports for her manager when the glass doors to the reception area swung open. A tall man walked in, scanning the room. He looked slightly lost, clutching a folder in his hands. The receptionist greeted him politely, but the man just shook his head and tapped his ear, then pointed to his mouth. He was deaf. The receptionist froze. She didn't know what to do. The man gestured again, clearly trying to explain something, but she only looked back helplessly. Other employees walked past, pretending not to notice. Alia's heart pounded. She looked at the man. His frustration was growing. She knew she should stay quiet, keep her head down. But something in her stirred. Without thinking, she stepped forward. "I can help," she said softly. The receptionist blinked at her. "You? How?" Alia took a deep breath and raised her hands. She signed, "Hello, my name is Alia. Can I help you?" The man's eyes widened with relief. He signed back quickly, his movements fluid and grateful. "Thank God. I was starting to think no one here knew sign language. I'm here to deliver documents to the CEO. It's very urgent." Alia nodded and translated for the receptionist, who looked astonished. She then turned back to the visitor and signed, "Please wait. I'll make sure these reach him." The man smiled warmly and handed her the folder. For a brief moment, Alia felt something she hadn't felt all week. Confidence. She wasn't invisible anymore. What she didn't know was that someone else had been watching from the balcony above the lobby. The CEO himself. Zayan Rahim leaned against the railing, his sharp eyes following the young intern below. He had returned early for a board meeting and had come down quietly to observe the energy of his company. He saw the confusion at the reception desk, the deaf visitor struggling to communicate, the employees looking away uncomfortably. He felt irritation rising until he saw her. A slender young woman stepped forward with quiet determination, her hands moving with practiced grace. Zayan's irritation melted into surprise. He had met hundreds of employees in his career, but rarely had he seen such calm initiative from someone so junior. And sign language? That was unexpected. For several minutes, he stayed hidden, watching the exchange. When the visitor left satisfied, Zayan made a note to himself. Find out who that intern is. The rest of the day passed like a blur for Alia. She thought nothing more of the encounter, just grateful she could help. But the next morning, her manager approached her desk with an unreadable expression. "The CEO wants to see you." Her pen nearly slipped. The internship had ended, but the memories hadn't. When Alia returned home with her certificate of completion from Horizon Enterprises, her parents were proud. Her younger brother beamed with admiration, and her friends teased her about being the CEO's favorite. She always blushed and denied it, insisting she was just lucky to be at the right place at the right time. But inside, she knew the experience had changed her. She had entered Horizon as a timid intern and left as a young woman who had found her voice, through her hands, through her empathy, through her courage. And yet, something lingered in her heart. The image of Zayan Rahim signing the words "thank you" to her, in his hesitant, awkward hand movements. She hadn't realized how deeply it had touched her until the silence of her ordinary life made her long for that moment again. An unexpected call. 3 months later, Aliyah was working part-time at a local NGO that focused on supporting children with hearing impairments. One evening, while she was preparing lesson materials for a sign language workshop, her phone buzzed with an unknown number. She hesitated before answering. "Hello?" A smooth, familiar voice came through. "Aliyah?" Her heart skipped. "Mr. Rahim?" There was a soft chuckle on the other end. "I was hoping you'd still recognize my voice." "Oh, of course," she stammered. "But how did you—" "I keep track of people who make a difference," he said simply. "I heard you're working with an NGO now. That's admirable." She blinked, stunned. How do you know?" "I have my ways," he replied lightly. Then his tone shifted into business-like precision. "Actually, I'm calling for a reason. Horizon is expanding the accessibility initiative you helped start. We want to create a nationwide awareness campaign, and I need someone who understands both the technical side and the human side. Someone like you." Aliyah's breath caught. "Me? But I'm not an employee anymore." "You could be," Zayan interrupted smoothly. "I'd like to offer you a position, full-time. Will you come back?" Her pen fell from her hand. She had dreamed of working at Horizon permanently, but never dared imagine the CEO himself would recruit her personally. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'd love to." Return to Horizon. The second time Aliyah walked through Horizon's glass doors, it felt different. She wasn't just an intern anymore. She was part of something bigger. Her colleagues welcomed her back with warmth and curiosity. Everyone seemed to know she had the CEO's attention, though she tried to ignore the whispers. She focused on her work, pouring her heart into the campaign that aimed to reach schools, workplaces, and public institutions across the country. But inevitably, her path crossed with Zayan's often. He remained the composed, brilliant leader everyone respected. Yet with her, there was a gentleness that few got to see. Sometimes he stopped by her desk, asking about her ideas. Sometimes he surprised her with a signed phrase, practicing what she had once taught him. One late evening, when most of the office was empty, he found her in the break room reheating her tea. "You work too hard," he remarked. She laughed softly. "Says the man who never leaves this building." That startled him. Not many people dared tease him, but instead of bristling, he smiled. A rare, genuine smile. "I suppose we're both guilty then," he said. Their eyes held for a moment longer than usual, and Aliyah felt her chest tighten. She quickly looked away, but something had shifted between them. Whispers and shadows. Not everyone was pleased. Some senior managers began to murmur about favoritism. "The CEO seems unusually interested in her," one whispered. "She's only just started, yet she's already in key meetings." The gossip reached Aliyah, and it made her stomach twist. The last thing she wanted was to be seen as someone climbing the ladder by special treatment. She tried to